The honest truth about Pixel Piece. Today I will be describing my personal experience with Pixel Piece and why I think it falls short of being an amazing One Piece game. So I loaded into Pixel Piece's character creation screen, and to be honest, it was better than I thought. Albeit GPO does have more character creation options, and some of the clothing options look exactly like GPO but pixelated, which will be a running theme in this video, by the way. I finished creating my character, and luckily I could change my skin tone, unlike Infernasu, who literally couldn't change his skin tone due to a bug.
Oh nah. Come on, bro. Let me change my skin. Nah, bro. No, something's not right here. Something's not right here, bro. I can't change my skin color.
Before I start getting into my own issues, I want to talk about the launch of Pixel Piece, which was an absolute disaster. The game had about 10 to 15 shutdowns within the first few hours of the game being up. The devs did try to compensate with codes, which I guess is acceptable. Exploiters dropped so many fruits at spawn it literally looked like a crazy trading session. So many people were able to cheat their stats and basically beat the game on the first island. Basically 60% of the player base had either the flame fruit or Tori, which was glitched at the time. Not to mention the data loss many people suffered at first, and even the second day of release. A few of the bugs were fixed on day 2 and 3 with many shutdowns and bug fixes. I heard they even hired some Project Slayers developers to help. Like, they should literally be working on update 2. Their game is dying. Also, Pixel Piece released with no race passive, so basically rolling for races within the release was pointless as well. Not to mention public servers still to this day are unplayable and more laggy than most GPO servers. As well as public servers being broken, private servers wouldn't even let you dash or play the game properly for like a day. So I loaded into Pixel Piece for the first time, and off the bat I noticed how amazing the visuals looked for the game. The pixel art style truly was a W in my book, and served the game perfectly because it was simple yet still unique. But as I will say in this video, the graphics are not the main issue of the game, which is usually not the problem at all in these One Piece games. The real problem with Pixel Piece lies within the progression of the game. I noticed right when I got to the first island, one very noticeable and similar thing was the layout of the island, which had bandits to your doorstep and your shop right next to that as well, which is how all islands run in most One Piece games. This was an immediate red flag. Why, you may ask? This is too similar to past One Piece games, and what we were expecting was something a bit different. It is a new year after all. Now, you can't blame us for this because the developers themselves said word for word when asked, will this game be a bandit beater? They said this on Discord. We already have several ideas to change this curse of One Piece games. We study several games daily inside and outside of Roblox to find the perfect XP system for those who hate living only from the eternal farm. Now, I want you guys to remember that. And what did the devs release when it came to grinding? Exactly what they said they wouldn't do. The game is a bandit beater, and by definition, the perfect bandit beater. A simple system that gets kids and some teenagers to get addicted, then they match the system with game passes like repeat quests or spawn bosses, and of course your XP boosters, which the developers already know you're going to eventually buy. This is not what I would call changing the curse of One Piece games. I would call it making the curse even stronger. The most disappointing fact is that Pixel Piece has so much potential to be even greater. Look at a game like Voxel Blade, another pixelated game in which has a vast open world and great RPG mechanics outside of just being a bandit beater. Now on to the gameplay again. This is another issue with Pixel Piece. The combat is simple and it works when it comes to PvP sometimes, but when translated to PvP, even within PvE, the hitboxes of the bosses and NPCs are utterly broken and don't work as intended, especially when playing in a public server because the lag makes these issues so much worse. The game does not include air combos, which I get, not every game needs air combos, but come on. They could have at least added evasives or some type of new mechanic to the combat at least. The game's combat feels like an early prototype of GPO and much worse in some instances. The combat doesn't feel impactful at all, and the bosses are as bad as ever. Take a normal bandit boss for example on the first island. It lacks proper AI to even be engaging to fight, so it just bores you to death. Another insane issue is the fact that 2 to 3 people attacking one boss can literally infinite stun lock the boss, and even when you're attacking NPCs, they will just go flying in the air, spinning around after you knock them back sometimes. Like, where were the testers for this game? Honestly, it's like, how did some of these issues get through? One of the main bosses of the game to unlock Haki is the Ancient Gorilla. This boss fight in the trailers looked absolutely insane and really fun to play, but when you play it for yourself, it is absolutely one of the most boring boss fights ever, and sometimes it's even frustrating. The gorilla doesn't even move, and not to mention the patterns of the move set make it one of the worst raid bosses ever, even worse than some of Bloxfruit's bosses. Never mind, nothing is worse than Bloxfruit's. The devs, to make it even more inconvenient for the player, they even made him only spawn at night, and without the boss respawn, you're gonna have to wait forever and even sometimes have to server hop to just get Haki because you have to fight him 5 times. After finally beating the boss and getting Haki, the game just turns into a fights bandits until you reach max level, because past the gorilla boss, there are no more engaging things to do in the game besides PvP. This is exactly why I say the game was truly not ready for release, because 90% of the game is truly not even worth playing, since the progression is not very good, nor is it engaging. This game would have probably been better off coming out during the summer, to be honest. And this game honestly feels like a game that should have released back in 2020 or 2019, because I feel like it would have served it better. To give the devs credit, however, they have been working really hard to fix these problems. The only issue is why delay the game in the first place just for it to miss vital content and fixes. Hopefully future updates, including update 1, at least feature enough content and unique features to separate this game from the current One Piece games on the platform. I'm honestly just happy it killed Project New World at least. With all these disappointments aside, back to my journey of the game. I realized in the shops that the game actually sells you a pose for the next island, the island that you are on, which I thought was pretty cool. Even when you pull out the pose, it even tells you what level you are going to have to be to leave your current island, which I also thought was pretty convenient to know for the player. So after reaching level 15, I was finally able to go to Shell's Town, which again, to my absolute surprise, was nothing but bandit beating and a Morgan boss, which is absolutely impossible to fight without either being super over leveled or having a fruit or playing with friends and stun locking the boss. So after getting beat up by Morgan and realizing this game is exactly like GPO, I went to the next island, which was Orange Town, and this is where the progression truly starts to show its worst sides. From level 35, you must gain 40 levels to go to the next island, which is the island for Haki, and this is where my journey ended. But before I tell you why, I must say having NPCs drop cool swords and bosses having drops is the bare minimum, but I still thought it was pretty cool that you could obtain some pretty cool weapons from them. But again, this is where my journey ended. On Orange Town, I couldn't even bother really playing more after that because I knew I wouldn't play Pixel Piece regularly as a game because of how mediocre the content and progression was. I watched the videos of people reaching max level and it was soul draining. I knew from there that I must make a video explaining why this game truly was not ready and giving you guys the honest truth. Pixel Piece is a game that has so much potential and was hyped greatly, but fell short due to the developers first of all not testing the game properly and releasing the game before it was ready, without the necessary content needed for the game to be ready. Not to mention the developers lying about breaking the curse of One Piece games. I do not recommend you play Pixel Piece in its current state, and I'm not sure if the game will ever change past just adding new fruits and new bandit beating islands, but I'll leave that up to the devs to prove me wrong. If you enjoy Pixel Piece, that's awesome, but personally I believe Pixel Piece falls short of being an amazing One Piece game. But that is it. If you guys enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more content like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.